welcome back. This is Mark. I'm back again with another part of Fate, the Traitor Soul. In this part, we're just gonna keep going, really.
You are refreshed.
It's always a good idea to heal whenever you up here, because you never know. The game doesn't do it for you.
Well, I've got plenty for sale, so I do, eh?
Oh, that's a new one. You know, I don't think I've ever heard that line. But what I'm gonna do is, since I don't have the spells for those right now, just go and get some books. Like I said in the last part,
I've got plenty for sale, so I do, eh?
2 in a row. Yeah, you can just put more scrolls into your books.
Hello, wanderer.
I don't even think I have anything worth selling. My dog doesn't either. Do you have any worthwhile quests? I do. Yeah, this is an entirely different run. As you can see, the dungeon hasn't really changed. You have about 30 minutes after you leave a floor before it resets. Which means, you know, you could come back to a completely new first floor, but I don't know why you'd ever do that unless you're just trying to do one long run. Now, these noxious gels are the first enemy that can really poison you, but it's not the first thing that can poison you. Second, I find a spell for identifying. Fortunately,
a new spell has been learned.
There is still a use for having some kind of identification, because
You have gained an experience.
see, Diablo didn't really have a self-identification. You just always use a scroll, or went to Deckard Cain. But well, this is a perfect example to show you what I'm referring to. Every level of charm magic adds 3 levels to your identification spell. So you can see how I can do about level 18, but this new sword has an identification of level 40. Also, it's yellow, it's an artifact, but really, it's not that much of an artifact. If it's got light in the name, it's just going to do 50% more damage. Unless you find a lot of them and you're selling them, you don't really need to identify them. See,
The spell could not be completed.
you can't use your basic spell, so this is where the book would have been useful. I'll go and use it since it's basically just 50% more damage, and this stacks with all my other benefits. So I get basically a free point of attack from my sword skill with this. It's pretty helpful, I think. I think for this run, I'm going to aim for more of a spell sword run. Don't know if I mentioned this in the last part. But I figured if I decide to go through with all 4 difficulty settings, I'm probably going to try and do a different style of character for each one. Just because it'd be boring seeing me do the same thing, just with a higher difficulty. I'm contemplating doing a pacifist run at some point. It'd probably be insane to do a legendary. I have some kind of idea how I could do it.
Increased in power.
Namely, not transforming my pet and trying to find as much damage reflection as I can. And no summons, obviously. But we'll get there if I get to that point. I can't imagine anyone would want to watch, 8 separate playthroughs. Not 4, 5 if you count hardcore. I don't count hardcore. But you can use the basic identify spell on low level items. Going for some of my equipment in there.
Will you tempt fate?
Now every now and then you'll find these rare events. For example, this magic anvil.
Will you tempt fate?
It's basically a free opportunity to enchant a piece of equipment. Now, unlike Diablo, when you were given the blacksmith's option to enchant something, you can't return to this. So it's usually a good idea to just pick something there and then. We'll go on and improve this hat because you never know. Most of the time you're not going to get anything or minimal enchantment. If you're lucky, you get an unique benefit. And seldomly you get sockets. But the worst things that happen are either your item gets cursed, which it's usually just a very minimal level curse. It's something you can usually live with, unless it's something like HP drain. And, I mean self-drain. There's both a regular drain HP for
You have gained
minions,
in
like lifesteal,
experience and skill. You have completed a quest.
and then you have like the actual like passively lowers your health. That effect can kill you. It isn't like some games where it'll just constantly drain to like a danger threshold. It will kill you. And poison also. It's basically like you're constantly poisoned, but no antidote can cure it. Now, the thing is with quests, you can take the item for yourself. This wouldn't be a bad item, but it's not. I value the experience and fame more for now.
You have
Also,
learned a new
finally,
spell.
I got a healing spell. You cast it, it heals you. Every level of defense magic increases its strength by a little. I guess if there's like one complaint I can say about the game is that the camera doesn't always. It's fixed angle most of the time. It's possible if you hold Control Shift and U to unlock your camera, to which you can adjust the camera yourself, but it's. I don't know. As you can see, it's kinda slow. There's also an alternate option if you just simply hold left and right. It'll just snap it to that particular orientation. But I mean, I imagine it would have gotten kind of dizzying to see the camera spin around as you turn around.
Your path
And
is full.
disorienting. But I still feel like, that's one thing they could have done better. And as nice as it is to have a nice socketed sword, I feel like I'll probably sell it just because it's worth a bit. You can find gems and socket them into items, similarly to Diablo. The difference is that, there's no runes or skulls.
You have completed a quest.
It is pretty much limited gems. Although the game does have some kind of replacement for it with some artifact gems that you can find. They're pretty nice. But most of them aren't going to be practical. You can't combine books. It'd be nice, but you can't combine them. That's something I don't understand. Also, a book only stacks up to 20. You don't get any benefit for wearing an unenchanted piece of jewelry, so I don't even waste the space. Most gems aren't that powerful in this game, unless it is an artifact, so I usually hold off. Now would be a good time for that healing spell we found earlier. If you're gonna get into magic and fate, it's usually a good idea to be able to heal. They start with the best magic-related skills. The rage attack is best used when you're surrounded. But you don't want to let your stamina get so low where you can't run if you have to. Because
your stamina is low.
I can remedy it on myself. If you had to invest any points in the charm skill, the other classes wouldn't even be able to identify that item. Because it had a 5. It starts at level 3.
You have gained in experience and skill.
I keep finding the books. Now, we'll send our pet to town. Because... oh wow, I leveled up twice? It's one of the things you don't even notice how much you're leveling up sometimes. Now, I'm not going to be investing points in staff skill. Even though I'm going to try and aim mostly for... even though I'm going to aim mostly for a spell sword kind of thing, staves don't... stave skill does not improve how effective your spells go. That's what the magic related skills are for.
Your pet has returned.
It's one of the best uses of the pet is just to use it as kind of a pack-mule. But you aren't going to load them up with like potions or anything. You're going to be using them for all the loot you find. I should have saved one of the stamina potions. There's a stamina spell, but it's... well, there's one right there. Not an effective one. Stamina potion is stamina potion. Alright, so now I have to defeat a voltage. When you send your pet to town, it takes 10 seconds per floor. But despite the fact that it lists potentially hours for your pet to possibly return, it's hard-coded that they always like 2 minutes. Once you get to level 12 and up, it's always 2 minutes. They also get a free heal. So if your pet's kind of about to kick the dust, they probably should go to town. And And you'll get some money for it too. It's much faster than relying on their natural recovery, of which is literally just 1 HP a minute, if I remember correctly. Now, normally at this point, this is where you would equip a saber if you weren't using something else, but the light sword's actually a little bit better because of the 50% bonus, meaning that it's more in my interest just to keep using this. The game's being awfully generous with portals. I still don't have a town portal spell, but it won't take long, and I've got 11.
You are exhausted.
If it absolutely comes to it. So the dungeon gate, as this dungeon is known as, it's kind of just a hodgepodge, really. You'll get all sorts of dungeons in here. You got the cave, you've got a mine. Oh, there's the voltaic gel. Kind of a pushover, but... Oh, that wasn't even the one we were looking for. Oh, it was.
The quest is completed.
What's a gel doing with a bow is beyond me. This here's another thing with Fate. You can go fishing, but I don't have a rod, and fishing isn't as fun as, say, you know, Ocarina of Time, where it's basically a whole mini game. It's more of just wait for the perfect moment and click the button. And if you do it just right, you get a fish, which may or may not have something in it. Now, summon spider. That's...
A new spell has been learned.
I mean, in the early game, summons can be good, but once you get to later floors, they're kind of mundane. They're a little more, they act as a little more to meat shields unless you get like one of the dragon spells. And even then, the mana cost for something like that is just... It's cost prohibitive in the early game, even if you had the magic points to use it. Because right now I have 75. I'm pretty sure it's like at least 150 to 200. It's been years since I've actually done a long playthrough to actually have the kind of stats to use that spell, but I do remember taking absurd amounts of mana to even try and use it. And trying to get a full 6 summon limit of it just wasn't terribly fun. Because you were waiting longer than the dragon had summon time. Now, the scimitar, on the other hand, probably would be a better weapon, let me think. As you can see, it sells for almost 50 times as much as a regular short sword. I'm gonna go on and sell it though, just because I'm pretty sure the saber is a little more powerful. It has a higher minimum damage. It also doesn't count as an enchant, so I may have goofed there. But it's alright, like I said, they're not that, you know, uncommon. It's one of the first relics you'll ever find.
I've got
probably.
deals nobody can touch.
Arguably the best gem in this collection is the zircon. Mostly because if you can find magic items, you can find many artifacts. Also, we finally found our first piece of chest armor.
You are exhausted.
It's a little chest part, but it's honestly better than a shirt.
Your pet has grown more skilled.
Don't let the game fool you. The pets can be quite weak. It's almost certainly better than what I'm using. 100% vitality. That's got limited benefits for me. Because, well, I mean, I'll show you what I mean. It's literally just going to be a single point. Now, the important part is sometimes you want to check your equipment when you find stuff. Weapons will always be the same, no matter which class they are. If you find a short sword, pretty much every short sword is going to be the same, unless you're playing on the higher difficulties, which you get the better grade items. But a short sword is still a short sword. Whereas armor, there is some degree of variance. For example, this leather tunic, and this little leather vest, for example, it has a defense of 9, but I've known them to have as much as 11. Which is kind of... I don't know if you'd buy another vest for the sake of 2 defense in this game, because defense doesn't provide damage reduction. It simply influences how likely you are to get hit. Think of it as like a dice roll. I don't know exactly how that works. I think it's kind of a case where if their dice rolls over, you know, your defense and you do take damage, then it's just a matter of their damage roll. Do I have any stamina? Good. Breaking pots is usually a good idea. In Zelda games, that's usually how you're going to get a lot of money, but in this game, you're not going to get a ton of money. But you might find the occasional gem or something. Let's solve everything for this guy.
Hello, wanderer.
Obviously, there's no use in trying to buy a scroll buff. I've already got plenty here.
You step into the portal.
nothing particularly useful. But you know, doesn't it look like just basically like a wooden stick with spikes in it? I made something like that as a kid once. I think I was like 15. Having played Dead Rising.
You have received a quest.
Certainly didn't take, you know, a warrior's effort to use it.
You have been granted new skills. You have gained fame.
And yes, like I said, fame's kind of a separate experience, and you get skill points for it. I do find some of the names kind of interesting, though. Tolerated. So apparently up to this point I was just tolerated, which is fine. Now, these skills here, they don't function like the others. These are your magic skills, but shield battle, critical strike, and spellcasting, the way it works is you always get some kind of benefit with each point, but the amount you get really starts to diminish. I think by the time you have like 20 points, you've only got about maybe 16%. And if you try and go to 30, you've barely got like barely over 24, maybe even 22. I'm only going to be investing about 10 points in each of this because, well, eventually you don't get the same returns, but there's also enchants to boost critical strike, spell casting, and shield battle skills. So if I really need those, then enchantments will probably help me out beyond that. Well, let's take whatever we get now.
You have received a quest.
And you're
They'll
always
keep telling
welcome
you to retrieve the same things they've always asked for. And somehow they have hundreds of family heirlooms too. Look at that. That's the same
You
thing.
have received a task.
And on the same floor. Which means by completing this guy's quest, you complete this guy's quest. I think that's another flaw. But those quests didn't exist until the Undiscovered Realms. Same thing with the shrines and escorts.
Never have you seen such fine craftsmanship.
And there goes the music. Now, I'm gonna buy this because being a wizard, you might just want a staff. And this one kind of gives you a little bit of everything. Plus some magic, too. The lack of music really makes you appreciate the atmosphere a little bit more.
At these prices, it's practically stealing.
So, should we gamble for something? I mean, it's not like I've got that much to lose, right? And wouldn't you know it? That's actually not too bad. Scam somebody, will you?
You step into the portal.
I think we'll do a floor. One more floor today. Yeah, we'll do this next quest. And then we'll cut it off, because... Oh, for a moment there I thought that was going to be a mimic. You know, this left me curious. Wow, the staff is more powerful than the sword. I guess I'll beat somebody up with a stick today. It does have my favorite combat attack, though. Not that a wizard would have the stamina to regularly pull it off. That's something with spell sword. I think I should be able to pull it off a little more regularly.
Your pet has increased in power.
Even with their resistance, it's pretty easy to kill gels with the staff. Later enemies won't be so merciful though. I'd say it's another advantage to keeping a second weapon type. The only thing that I guess I can't really deal much with is piercing right now. Not as many things have piercing as weakness. Mostly the gels. And after a point you just stop seeing them. Alright, that's a bad idea. Yeah, just
You have
spin your hammer around like... Or, my bad. Spin my staff around like...
Your pack is full.
One of those kung fu artists. So much loot, yeah. Hardly anything really useful. That's how most loot works in this game, unfortunately. Also, I hate imps. Not because they're actually bad idiots. Just a certain video game imps kind of frustrating me. In the best possible way, of course.
You are exhausted.
As you can see, just by having the staff, my healing spell's a little more powerful. But it also will make a lot of my other spells a little more powerful. As I can now identify level 30, as long as I'm holding it. If I'm not, then I can't really do as much. Same thing with my spiders. There's actually a pretty good shift. Some of these dungeon floors can be quite huge, while others can be hardly a few rooms large.
You are exhausted.
Do I have another potion? I do not. Can't say I'm surprised. A little trick that I found, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people playing this game tried doing. It looks stupid, but it also gets on your nerves with the sound. Alright. Looks like it's finished, but I've got to find the exit. There it is. So that was pretty simple. No missing out on a few coins. Another little trick is to just send your pet to town.
Your pet has departed.
And then return
You
to
enter the portal.
Return to the town while your pet's gone. Your pet won't be fooled.
Your
As you
pet
see,
has
they found me.
returned.
So let's see what Gavita does this.
Fame.
Same guy made us famous twice. Unremarkable now. Let's see, I think he gave me a cab. I apologize for that sudden interruption. Real life things kind of got in the way for a few minutes. But, in any case, we need to find some quests, or rather, one quest to take one for the next couple of floors. It'd be nice to have
You have
something to do
received
for the next
a
floor.
quest.
I think I'll go and do one more just because technical hiccups and everything.
You enter the portal.
But as I was going to say before that all happened, we got basically the same helmet, but even better attributes. And by better attributes, I mean triple the defense. Which really isn't all that impressive. Definitely good. It still shows the early game age. Honestly, I'd hate to say it, but the dungeon from the first Fate is probably the most varied. Once you get to the next two, as you'll see, they don't really change much. Chamber of Trials tries to mix all of it together, and Chaos also does that. But the other two are kind of like generic woods.
You have
Forest
gained in
themed
experience
dungeons,
and skill.
The other one's like generic caves and ice. You'll probably see a lot of recycled stuff from here. Now, I'm pretty sure that cape might just be better than... Nope. Now, normally I'd say that's a spell I'd probably use, but eventually stamina becomes kind of pointless.
You have
I'll
learned a
use
new
it for
spell.
now, but as you can see, if you were thinking it'd be a great way to do constant power attacks, it doesn't recharge your stamina nearly quick enough to make it worthwhile. It also doesn't last terribly long either. So in the early game, you're better off just using whatever potions you find for it. And as you see, Blitz got poison, which is always a bad thing. Fortunately, you know, most poisons give you enough time to either keep your health up or, at the very least, try and find something to get your health up with. But once you get deeper into the dungeon, poison will start taking more health from you. He's just everywhere, isn't he?
You look like you know a bargain when you see one.
Do you have anything particularly useful? Well, there's the town portal spell. But here's the thing, I'm not gonna buy it. The reason being is you can get it from basically a drop from something. And as you saw, the prices, I mean, it's definitely not the most expensive thing. There will be things that will cost millions eventually. But 6,500 gold right now is kind of a lot. And I've got a book that I bought earlier and then kept finding even more.
The quest is completed.
So that's what we had to do on this floor. But if you've got the resources to, it's always a good idea to just try and find and get everything out of the dungeon. Sure. As you see, I would have missed out on this treasure room. Not gonna get hardly much out of it. Maybe we'll get our first piece of enchanted jewelry or something.
You are overburdened.
Hey, it wasn't wrong, was I? That's no better than an enchanted item, you know. That's probably the best item out of all of it. Sadly. Well, that's not a terrible item. Neither is that. It's not as good as far as defense goes, but the reflection's a nice touch, I guess. Have you ever heard of a gem going into a cape? Never heard of it. Oh hey, our first new enemy. 5, well, actually no, I think imps were introduced a little bit earlier. But on higher difficulties, those are one of the first enemies you'd see. But as you can see, they're all pretty much still level 1. Although they're all still largely one-hit pushovers, with the exception of the bosses. Actually, I wonder if my 2% reflex is enough to kill something. Why am I doing that? I have 20 of healing potions. And I could have cured my pet. That's the thing, when your potions are in your inventory, you don't pay as much mind to them. Also, that's kind of the jankiest looking hero I've ever seen. Also, that's a useless prop. All that gold and you can't do nothing with it. Oh, nice. Oh, hey, our first non-level 1 enemy, the basilisk. And like I told you, you'll just find spells randomly. One of those random drops can be a town portal spell. And you can keep finding it all the way deep down the dungeon. Get these last things cleared, and then I think we'll head back.
You step into the portal.
Ain't much to collect this time, but
Your pet has increased in power.
still, a level up for the pet's always helpful. Even if he ain't too far from my own. Your pet's always usually about a level behind you. Although, in the later game, this seems to be even farther behind you.
You don't find a better deal than in my shop.
And here's an interesting little dilemma. 15 defense, and it requires 30 magic. This barely requires 19. And yet it's the same stats. I mean, I guess if you really want to look good in green or something. But there is no green tunic to wear. Not without mods. That's a tarot card. Or fake card. You'll hear both used. You get free. You take them to a not a fortune teller, but like, I guess a tarot reader or something. And you get a random reward. Although most of the time the reward's kind of just useless gems. Maybe a little bit of gold. Although sometimes you get stat points and skill points for some reason. So I don't think I see anything that we can really use. Oh, this. This is the most broken spell in the game. Or at least it's one of two very broken spells in the game.
You have learned a new spell.
You'll find out why eventually. I'll probably show it off in the next episode. Just to show you why it's so useful. But I'll tell you some of it now. It costs 18 magic. So I can cast it 5 times right now. It does 13 to 26 damage. Which is more HP than most enemies right now have. And it does knockback. This spell can cheese the entire game. Now, oh wait, you get some points of damage for defense skill too. But the other spell that I'm thinking of,
Well, what can I do for you?
You have received a quest.
Poison Clot spell, only its overall duration is affected by the attack magic spell.
A good day
Skill.
for you, Wanderer.
But the more magic you have, that spell gets even more powerful. Anyway, I'm going to leave it off here. Next time we'll finally start seeing some more interesting stuff, hopefully. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Smart, I'm out.